To the power sector now, where the federal government says the policy of eligible customer is now yielding the desired result. Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, who was speaking at the 29th edition of the Power Sector Stakeholders Meeting in Minna, said the result will become more obvious in the coming days. Let's take a listen.
Nigerians across every region of the country have cried out for many years over the worsening supply of electricity. However, the President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government, through its Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, is implementing several policies to ensure Nigerians get reliable power supply in their households and businesses. The eligible customer policy, introduced on the 15th of May 2017, is part of efforts by the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing to improve the distribution of electricity and facilitate better power supply to consumers who consume up to 2 megawatts and above. The ministry says 5 industrial customers are now benefiting from the policy, and that a list of 26 industrial customers are also seeking to benefit from the policy.
The benefit is just beginning to trickle down. And this is the analogy that I made about policies that it takes time to evolve and to have impact. And those benefiting from the policy are taking their power directly from Ijenko, who incidentally is our host today, Mrs. Mainstream Energy Limited. We also have a list, I am told from the reports, of 26 industrial customers who are seeking to benefit from the policy. But I'm glad to hear from Mainstream that so far, for the first 2 months of the operation of the policy, the invoices they have issued, they have achieved 100% collection, which is what we want to see in the industry. So it means that in one breath, parts of the policy is working, but we intend to monitor the policy more closely, to hear from the beneficiaries and all of the participants, and to ensure that this constitutes a win-win for everybody.
Another policy is the energizing of educational institutions and markets. These are federal government-led initiatives based on the approval of the Rural Electrification Implementation Plan by the President in 2016 to provide access to power for rural dwellers and vulnerable citizens. The minister had proposed that his ministry is to use 6 more hydro dams that have been abandoned for decades to power 37 federal government universities and some markets as anchors which are privately funded.
There are currently 15 markets under contemplation, with Ariaria, Sabon Gari and Sura markets in Aba, Kano and Lagos as flagships. The 6 hydro dams are to be concessioned to private operators to build, operate and transfer. Our thinking is simple. While the whole value chain and power privatization gradually evolves, it is possible to create oases of success by showing to our children that they can have reliable power while in school. If that is a reason to get children to school and keep them there, certainly no good business should oppose this. Indeed, it seems to me sensible to expect that the future of today's businesses and even the future of our government rests solely on the quality of education that the current generation of students get.
The provision of 701 billion naira payment assurance guaranteed by government is to give comfort to investors in the generation side of the value chain.
We continue to forge ahead to achieve 100% recovery by implementing a very robust capacity and expansion program. Further, additional capacities are being recovered with the ongoing rehabilitation of the 80 megawatt Unit 1G7 at Kainji, which contract was awarded to GE and will be completed in the 4th quarter of 2019. We are also in the process of awarding the contract for the recovery of an additional capacity of 96.4 megawatt to Marubeni for the rehabilitation of Unit 2G6 at Jebel, which has been out of operation since 2009. Which would commence in 2019.
Stakeholders pledge to be responsive to policies of the government to deliver quality electricity for the benefits of Nigerians.
701 billion Naira Payment Assurance Guarantee, which our host has referred to, and to say that this was not in any law. It was a creation of the Buhari government to give comfort to investors in the generation side of the value chain that they will be paid for the power they supply. Since its implementation in 2017, recovery of payments by GENCOs has increased from 20% to 80%, and the power supply capacity has improved from 4,000 to 7,000 megawatts. And there's an appetite now by other players to participate in the generation side of the business.
We must not forget the various initiatives and interventions of the federal government to ensure that the power sector remains viable, and we must continue to ask ourselves how we can contribute our own quota in ensuring that the power sector survives. At this juncture, I will again laud the Honorable Minister of Power, Works and Housing on the declaration of eligible customers, which comes at a time when market participants were seeking stabilization of revenue and development of a matured market. This move by the Honorable Minister has also increased our shareholder confidence and improved our commitment towards speeding up our various initiatives, all centered around an improved power sector in Nigeria.
Revamping the power sector as directed towards providing reliable electricity for markets in rural areas and universities across the nation is to ensure a sustainable economy for Nigerians.
The market men and women were contributing about 10 million naira per day to buy energy from small generator owners who provided them energy for only 4 hours per day. And we decided to replace that with a gas system that provides them energy for the whole day and at much lower the cost, not only in terms of cash, but in terms of environmental health. So those are the kind of interventions that the Buhari administration feels its responsibility to drive in order to reach vulnerable people. And it might interest you that the entrepreneurs who are trying to produce this power in our area are investing their money, contrary to what you hear that it is government. It's not government. And they are not asking government for bank guarantees. They are not asking for CBN rates. They are not asking for all sorts of conditions that you find. They're just believing in the market and going in there to play. And we think that these places, just like the universities of course are government funded, the intervention to ensure that children have electricity in their schools.
Operators in the industry during the monthly meeting hosted by Mainstream Energy Solutions Limited were fully represented at the highest executive management levels, including managing directors and representatives of generating companies, distribution companies, and the Transmission Company of Nigeria, as well as various government agencies responsible for the regulation and development of the sector.
This NERC is now fully constituted, that this should be our valedictory meeting. So the NERC as the regulator will take over the meeting. I will continue with my team in the ministry to play our oversight, policy and directive role. And so this being the 29th meeting is the valedictory ministers meeting. So it will be next meeting in full from next month. And we will continue to give all the support that we can to ensure that the industry delivers on its undoubted promise.
They all agree with the minister that there is hope for the nation as government implementation of policies are gradually recording successes.
The traffic